Greetings. Glad to be back with you again to continue talking about courage. And again, courage is bravery, valor, or bravado. It permits someone to face extreme danger or difficult situations. It's not the absence of fear, but the ability to overcome it. And so today we're going to talk about courage in the face of loss. And it's a story about Job. And this portion of Job's life can be found in Job 1-3. And it's an amazing thing. And there comes a time that we all know, and I'm going to have to paraphrase here just because for time, but there comes a time when Satan and God have a conversation. And God asks Satan where he's been, and he says, from walking up and down on the earth. And then God says these words, "Have you considered my servant Job?" Now listen to how God feels about Job. "Have you considered my servant Job? For there is no one like him in the earth. He fears me and he hates evil." Wow. And then there comes an interaction between God and Satan asks God to drop the hedge. And he thinks he can get the best of Job. He thinks he can get Job ultimately to curse God to his face. And literally, all hell breaks loose in Job's life. I don't know why God allows this. Maybe there's some kind of a biblical reason for it. Maybe there are people who are much smarter than I. But I just know drama came Job's way. Literally, as I said, all hell broke loose in his life. There came a time when he lost his wealth. He lost all of his camels. He lost all of his sheep. He lost all of his donkeys. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. They all died on the same day. Can you imagine being a father or a mother and having to go to 10 funerals in one day? Where is God, I would think? You know, why didn't God intervene? Why didn't God do something? But you know, tragedy comes, whether we're a follower of Jesus or not. Things can go crazy. And then he lost his health. The Bible says he was covered with boils from the sole of his feet to the crown of his head. From the bottom up, kind of really showing you where this affliction came from. There comes a point when his own wife sees this, and her words to him are, "Why don't you just curse God and die?" Wow. Who needs to hear some of that? Are things not bad enough? You know, when do we come alongside of somebody? When does somebody come and give me compassion? When does somebody come and put their arms around me and embrace me for the loss and the hurt and the pain that I'm going through if I were in Job's shoes? I look at this, and then he has some friends who were supposed to come and be his comforters. And all they did was talk smack about what they thought was going on in his life, not knowing how God had felt about Job. But you know what the Bible says about this? In all of this, Job did not charge God foolishly with his mouth. Job maintained his integrity. Job maintained his faith in God. Though life was painful, life was tragic, there was tremendous loss, he knew that God was with him. And he knew that if God had allowed this, there would be a reason for it. And sometimes we don't understand the reasoning of God. For the Bible says that his ways are not our ways, and his thoughts are not our thoughts. And as high as the heavens and the earth are above, that's how far his thoughts and ways are removed from ours. Sometimes we don't know what God is doing. Sometimes we try to figure it out. But God calls you and I to maintain our integrity. God calls you and I to keep our focus on him, to trust in him, that regardless of what goes on, our belief and trust is in God. Job would even come to say, "Though he slay me, yet will I serve him." What an incredible man of faith. What an incredible man of God. And God rewarded him for his faithfulness. God showed up. Down the road, he had gone through tremendous travail. He had gone through false accusations of people who thought they knew right and didn't. He had heard his wife say these things. The enemy of his soul stood off in the corner and laughed at him in the middle of this calamity. And yet and still he maintained his integrity towards God. Wow. What do we do? Sometimes we're going to suffer loss. Sometimes things are not going to work out the way that we want them to work out. Sometimes the bottom will fall out. But God is there. God has made a promise to us that he's going to be with us always, even until the end of the age, that he's going to never leave us. He will never forsake us, that he is the God of all comfort and mercy, and he has the ability to comfort us in our trials, so that we in turn can comfort others in theirs. And the more that we share Christ's sufferings, the more we are able to give his encouragement. And this means that if we have to experience trouble, we can pass on to you the same sort of spiritual help that we ourselves have received. And that can be found in 2 Corinthians, the first chapter, beginning in the first few verses. But sometimes you're going to go through difficult things, and then God will allow people to come your way who've been through difficult things. And because God has met you, you will be able to meet them, and you will be able to speak with them with compassion and love. What an incredible God. He knows what he's doing, though sometimes it doesn't look like it, but we're called to trust him. We're called to put our faith in him, and sometimes there will be loss, but God knows how to return it. Here's what it says in Job 42:12. Now the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning. God saw his faithfulness, and he rewarded him for it. That's the God we serve. That's the God who loves us. And that's the God who's with us. God bless you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you were blessed by the material. We also want to remind you that there are several great ways to make sure you're staying up to date on our content as part of our 360 Legacy Plan. First, subscribe to this channel by clicking subscribe below. You can also download our incredible new app in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Just search Legacy Minded Men. And finally, visit our website at legacymindedmen.org for more information on what we believe, upcoming events, and how to join a group. Thanks again for watching.